Abraham was Joseph's great granddaddy. Oh, hi guys. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be diving in to the story of Joseph. Who is Joseph in the Bible? Joseph, I would describe him as a young man whose steps were clearly ordered by God. He was faithful, he suffered, he was betrayed, he was unloved, and it looked like life was against him. It looked like all odds were against him. He was just born into a life where a lot of people that were supposed to support him didn't want to see him win. But despite all odds, God turned his beautiful story that was meant for evil to good, as God always does, and we're going to be talking about it today. So let's jump right in. So the very first mention of Joseph in the Bible is in Genesis chapter 30 verse 22. It reads, "Then God remembered Rachel's plight and answered her prayers by enabling her to have children. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. God has removed my disgrace," she said, and she named him Joseph, for she said, "May the Lord add yet another son to my family." So as you guys heard, Rachel is the name of Joseph's mom. Rachel was married to Jacob. Jacob worked 7 years for Joseph's mama. Ended up getting Joseph's mama's sister, Leah. He worked 7 more years for Joseph's mama, Rachel. So now Joseph's father has worked 14 years for his mom, and he's finally able to marry her, finally able to have fun with his wife, and they're unable to have children. Meanwhile, his other wife is having all these children. Rachel is feeling some type of way. She offers up her servant, Rachel's servant, and Jacob having kids. Now Leah offers up her servant. It's a battle to have Jacob's kids. Leah's servant, Rachel's servant, all having Jacob's kids. Rachel is like, man, like, I want a kid with my husband. They loved each other. Like, that was really his day one. Like, that was really the woman he wanted to marry. Like, it was love at first sight, and they can't even have a kid. So that's the background of Genesis 30:22. God remembered Rachel and blessed her with this son named Joseph. So the aura behind Joseph, everything is just so beautiful. It's like, I finally get this son with my wife who I love so much. And because of the circumstances of Joseph's birth, of all that, trouble just to have Joseph, he was Jacob's favorite. Rachel ended up passing away. We're skipping to Genesis 37. Before she passed away, Rachel and Isaac had another son. They have another son named Benjamin. So that's Joseph's little brother. But like we said, the circumstances surrounding his birth, he wasn't the firstborn. So he was born into I would say 10 to 12 half brothers, and they did mention a sister collectively. I'm not going to say inevitably because, you don't have to have a favorite child, but it was very evident that Joseph was Jacob's favorite child, and that made all the other brothers feel some type of way. Obviously, Jacob is their common denominator, and that's their father. And there was a lot of boys. They're all sons except for one sister. So, yeah, they felt some type of way that Joseph was the favorite, and Jacob didn't even try to hide it. He gave Joseph this nice robe. He was decking out the son. He was treating him the best. He had Joseph tattling on his brothers when they was working, stuff like that. So it's of course they felt some type of way, but what they did with their feelings is one of the first downfalls that we hear in Joseph's story. So in Genesis 37, we're in Joseph's late teens now. He says that he's 17 years old, and he has this dream one night. He has 2 dreams, but they're basically the same. So the first dream he has, one night Joseph had a dream. When he told his brothers about it, they hated him even more. "Listen to this dream," he said. "We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain, and suddenly my bundle stood up and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine." His brothers are like, "Okay, so you think you about to be our king or something? You want a cookie?" Basically. And of course that made them more mad because why is this little boy testing my pee? He has another dream. This time he says, "The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me." And he told the dream to his father too. So this dream involved even his parents now. He told it to Jacob, his father, and he's like, "Okay, what you think we're gonna all bow before you?" Everybody's confused, but Jacob doesn't hate him for it. Jacob is just why is my little son telling me that I'm gonna bow down before him? And so this is a pivotal moment in the story because Joseph wasn't wrong about his dreams. His dreams were true. He was having dreams that one day his family was going to have to answer to him. And at the end of his story, they did have to answer to him. Everybody answered to him. But at 17 years old, nobody saw him as who he was going to be in his 30s. I would say Jacob just kind of like, brushed it off. He just thought about it, didn't mention it anymore. And one day he sends Joseph out to, check on his brothers. What are they doing? Like, are they in the flocks all together? And so Joseph goes to go check on his brothers and he can't find them. This man tells him where his brothers are. He goes out to find them. While his brothers see him coming, his brothers now plot to kill him. Can you believe that? The closest people in your life, the people who are supposed to support you, who are supposed to love you through thick and thin, they're planning to kill him because their jealousy and their envy for Joseph is just growing so big, and they're not submitting it to God. And they want that validation from their father that Joseph has. And so in their head, when they're reasoning, they're like, if we just wipe Joseph out, he's not going to be the favorite no more. He's not going to walk around bragging in our face about who he about to be. It was just jealousy and envy and family issues that weren't dealt with. They were upset because they weren't the favorite. Had Jacob treated all of his children equally, maybe this wouldn't have had to happen, but he didn't. So it happened. And had they submitted their emotions to God and be like, hey God, like I felt like bitter before and it doesn't feel good. And I'm like, God, like I'm hurt by this person. I'm hurt by these circumstances. Of course they're hurt. Why? I just was born into this family. That's it. I worked so hard. Why do you like this little boy more than me? So sometimes you're just in those situations where stuff happens to you and you feel like I didn't even do anything. Like I'm literally living. I'm doing the best that I can. And this has happened to me. So now I'm upset, and now I want to make things right by myself, but I know I shouldn't, Lord. And that's why hey God, like, that's how I feel. And I don't want to feel like this. Like, I want to look at your child the way that you look at them. I know that no matter what they do to me, that is your child and you still love them just as much as you love me. Because the thing about God is he blesses us. He spoils us. It's okay to love your children. It's okay to give your children a coat. It's okay to give your children what you're able to give them, but it's not okay to have favorites. Like, Jacob really could have done that equally. He could have spread it out, but he didn't. So, this is just family problems, what family problems lead to. So yeah, now they're plotting to kill him. Everything is just bubbling up. It's been 17 years of this. I can't take this anymore. Get this little boy out of my face. Ever since he came, my daddy done switched up. So they're planning to kill him, but, Reuben, the oldest one, he's like, well, like, why are we going to kill him? He doesn't want to kill his brother. So he's trying to, but he's scared to stick up for it. He doesn't want to, stick up for Joseph. They're like, why are you sticking up for Joseph, So he's like, why don't we just, put him in this well, put him in this pit, And his plan was let's put him in this pit, and then he was going to come back later on and get Joseph out of the pit. But his brothers agreed, put him in the pit, and they ended up selling him. They saw some traders, some Ishmaelite traders, it says. They were coming, and they ended up selling him. They're like, killing him's not going to make us any profit. We might as well sell him, get some bread off of him. Sad. That's exactly what they did. So Joseph ended up getting sold into slavery, and he ended up being moved to Egypt. The brothers ended up taking this coat that Jacob had given Joseph, putting blood all over it, and giving it back to Jacob. Like, isn't this your son's robe? And Jacob is devastated. Everybody's trying to comfort him. They're thinking oh, let me comfort him, and then he's going to go back to normal, and he's going to love us all. But no, Jacob's like, I don't want to be comforted. This is going to go with me to my grave. I can never heal from this. He just lost his favorite son. He lost his prized possession. And if you really think about it, I feel like he might have even been feeling like he's grieving for the loss of Rachel again, because that was his firstborn son of Rachel. Rachel is gone. Rachel ended up dying giving birth to Benjamin, the little brother. And now Joseph is gone. All he has left of Rachel now is the little son Benjamin. And that's going to play out in the story later on. So where Joseph goes in Egypt is to a man named Potiphar. Now, Potiphar is a very high up man because he works for Pharaoh. Pharaoh is the king of Egypt. So Potiphar works for Pharaoh in a high title, high position, and Joseph works for Potiphar. And as soon as Joseph begins to work for Potiphar, Potiphar can just tell, man, there's something about this guy. He's not no ordinary Chuck. There is something up with this guy. The favor of the Lord is around this guy, because everything I have him do, everything Joseph was doing for Potiphar was blessed. It was just multiplying. Everything was fruitful. Everything was just bringing him great success. And Potiphar quickly realized that, and so he upgraded Joseph's title. Now Joseph was Potiphar's personal assistant, basically. Like, he was Potiphar's right-hand man. Potiphar trusted him with everything. Joseph had access and was in charge of everything that Potiphar owned and that Potiphar was in charge of course, except for his wife. And Joseph didn't want his wife, but Potiphar's wife wanted Joseph, because Joseph has been working hard. He's been doing all this labor. You know, his body probably getting fit. He's getting a nice tan in the sun. And Potiphar's wife sees him as like, ooh, he's attractive. I want him. Joseph's like, whoa, 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 chill, chill, chill. Like, you're the wife of my master. It's not gonna happen. You know, he trusts me with everything. Why would I? You know, Joseph's not even tempted, but this lady just keeps putting herself onto Joseph. He's like, no, 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 like, leave me alone. And as he's trying to run, like one day as she's, you know, continuously putting herself, he's trying to run away. She gets a piece of his clothing and basically lies that he was trying to assault her and do things with her against her will. And she gets Joseph thrown into prison. So let it be rejection. Oh, this story of Joseph, man. Let it be her own feelings of rejection, not knowing how to handle rejection. Maybe she's embarrassed. Maybe she doesn't know how awkward it's going to be the next time she has to see Joseph, knowing that he's now turned me down 3 times. She decides to get him tossed away. Again, somebody's trying to erase Joseph. She throws him in prison. She lies to her husband, Potiphar. She lies to all the guards. Potiphar's angry at Joseph, like, how could you betray me like this? Throws him in prison. Man, so another moment in Joseph's life where the emotions of somebody else caused him to fall, caused him to suffer. Here I am thinking, okay, God, like, maybe this is why my brothers did this to me and blah, blah, blah. Like, maybe you wanted to bless me with this position as the personal assistant of Potiphar. I am in charge of everything Potiphar's in charge of. He trusts me with it all. I'm living a good life. I'm in prison again. I didn't do anything. Like, once again, I didn't do anything. Here I am trying to be obedient, trying to be a great right-hand man. I'm not sleeping with this man's wife. I'm not going to disgrace you, God. God, I'm not going to do that. And now I'm in prison again. Like, now I'm locked away in the dark again. Because of somebody else's actions, because of somebody else not knowing how to handle their emotions, I'm suffering the consequences. But the beautiful thing about Joseph is that he never once left God. He never once allowed his circumstances to take him away from the presence of God. He constantly confided in God and trusted God through it all. And everything that he did, he brought God glory. Even in the bad times. And right about this moment, I wouldn't have blamed Joseph if he felt defeated. I wouldn't have blamed him. How could you not? Like, here you are living this great life with your daddy, with your little brother. Here you are just living your great life with your family, and your brothers, the closest people to you, betray you in a way you could never imagine. Like, Joseph thought they were playing a game with him, putting him in that pit. It said the pit was so dry, the only source of water was his tears, was Joseph's tears in that pit that his brothers threw him into, tied him up. They came back for him. He thought, oh, finally they're done, like, playing this prank on me. I'm free. They sell him. They sell him. I didn't do anything. I'm just your little brother. I just wanted to have a relationship with you. Finally, you know, life starts to get a little better. All of a sudden, I'm framed and I'm set up. I could have sinned. I could have sinned. I could have slept with your wife, Potiphar, but I chose not to. I chose to be obedient. I chose to bring glory to God's name, and now I'm in prison? Like, none of this is making sense. Even Joseph. These are characters in the Bible. These are human beings who live lives like us. You're born into things that aren't your fault. Don't try to handle them by yourself. Don't. Take them to God. And can you believe that even in all his suffering, there was no period on his life because now I'm in prison. There was no period on his life when he fell into the pit. His life wasn't over there. The enemy wanted it to be over. His brothers wanted his life to be over. But God. That's why there's no period, because God. Now, if God wanted there to be a period, there would have been a period. Joseph's life would have ended. And all those moments where people tried to end his life would have ended. But because God had more in store for Joseph, there was nothing anybody on this earth could have done to ruin, to sabotage, to mess up what God had in store for Joseph. The journey getting there wasn't beautiful. The journey getting there wasn't cherries and roses. But when he got there, oh baby, he was living. He was living. He was living. Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story about how Joseph treated her. So he took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were held, and there he remained. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him his faithful love. And the Lord made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. Before long, the warden put Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners over everything that happened in the prison. And the warden had no more worries because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. Now look, do you see this? The Lord was with Joseph. You know, there's sometimes in life that the Lord is with you and he's actually trying to help you. It just doesn't look like what you want it to look like. And so you want to keep convincing yourself and you want to keep believing the enemy when he tells you that you're all alone and, you know, God has forgotten about me and nobody loves me. It's not true. Like, the Lord was with Joseph in prison. Just because the Lord is with you doesn't mean that it has to be some highest of titles, riches of riches, all the money, all the blessings. This is a blessing right here that the Lord was with Joseph, even though he's in prison and it's not his fault. Even though he's in this strange country and it's not his fault. Even though everything in his life has been working against him, he still is being blessed right now. The Lord is with him in this prison, and now he's in charge of everything again. And the Lord is making everything he does so easy, and it's so successful. That's the favor of God. Like, it's like, yeah, I have to go through this hard, long program, this hard, long thing. But God's favor is that it doesn't feel like it. Joseph doesn't look like what he's going through right now. When the warden looked at him, he probably couldn't tell all that Joseph has gone through with his family, with his brothers betraying him, missing his father. Now he's, you know, it's like he can even start to develop trust issues now, because every time he begins to trust somebody, or the people he was supposed to trust keep on betraying him. But instead he decides to be a hard worker, and in all that he does, he's bringing glory to God. And look where that keeps bringing him. So now he's got a high title again. Like, it's not even that this is where God wants him right now, but it's just that there's evil in this world. There's evil in this world. There's people like Joseph's brother. There's people like Potiphar's wife who let their emotions get the best of them. They're not submitted to God. They act before they think. And you have to suffer the consequences sometimes. And that may cause you to go somewhere you were never supposed to go. That may lead you down a road that you were never supposed to go down. But the thing about God is that he will always turn what they meant for evil, the people in your life, what the enemy meant for evil, God will always turn it for good. And that is why we see Joseph in prison right now being elevated to the highest title. And now it says the warden has no more worries because Joseph takes care of everything. But it doesn't say Joseph has worries, because God's favor allows it to be so easy. Everything he's taken care of is successful, it says. It says, and the Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. I'm thinking like just with ease, you know. Joseph was one person, but with God, like, look at all the stuff he's able to accomplish. And I think I'm going to end this video here because, man, I feel it. Like, I feel so amazed. And I feel like so many people are able to resonate with so many parts of Joseph's story. And I don't want to tell his whole story at one time. I'm going to break it up into videos so that you can sit on it, so that you can really like think about it. Like, how would you feel right now if you were Joseph? Or do you feel like how you think Joseph is feeling right now? Like, do you feel betrayed? Do you feel like all ends are against you? Do you feel like you were born into a life that is just throwing tomatoes at you? You are dodging them, and every time you get up for a breath of air, life pushes you back underwater. Do you feel like that right now? I think Joseph's story is going to help us realize that even in our suffering, God is with us. When we think about God being with us, let us not confine it to only the good times. Let us not confine it to only when I got that promotion in my job, God was with me, and not when I was working a job that paid me minimum wage. God was with you there too. God was favoring you at that job too. Not only when I got a new car, but God was also with me when my car was totaled. God was with me through the steps of getting my new car. You can suffer, you can have bad times, and still be covered and be in the perfect, protection and favor and grace, and love of God. Because the sad part is there's just bad in this world. We're just in a crooked world, But that's why the world isn't the end goal. But the end of this video is here. And so I will see you guys on the next video as we jump into Joseph, his experience in prison and how he got out. He was in there for a while. How did he just randomly get out one day? Because he was supposed to be in there for life. I love you guys so much, and thank you for watching this video. I love you. Bye.